Hey guys, it's Cece, and welcome to my January favorites. So if you are new to this channel, my favorites videos, which I do every single month, is a video just to summarize all of my favorite things from the previous month. It's kind of all right there in the title. These videos are not favorites limited to bookish things, though I do discuss bookish things. I also discuss movies and music and some other stuff that's been going on in my life in general. So if you're curious about some of my favorite stuff from the previous month, then stick around. I'm gonna talk about it. Let's get started. So my favorite book that I read in the month of January was easily We Are the Ants by Shaun Hutchinson. This book is absolutely incredible. It follows a boy named Henry Denton, and things in his life have not been going well. Last year, his boyfriend committed suicide, his brother has dropped out from college and has a pregnant girlfriend, and his grandmother is rapidly losing her memories. Not only that, but sometimes Henry is abducted by aliens, and those aliens have informed him that the world is going to end soon, and Henry is the one with the power to stop it. Unfortunately, Henry doesn't really want to stop the Earth from ending. He doesn't see a reason why it needs to keep going at all. And that is when we meet a boy named Diego Vega. This is one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read, and it has been a while since I've read a YA book that was this deeply original and interesting. I love YA, but this just felt like it kicked it up a notch. The main character spends so much time discussing his depression and the things that he's been through. Also, the side characters are in-depth and interesting and incredibly well written, and I love every single one of them. And I can't even talk about this book without talking about the romance, because Henry and Diego just make my heart glow. When I annotate my books with sticky notes, I have 5 different colors, and each different color means a different thing, and it is always a good sign in a book when I use every single color. And that's exactly what happened with this. This was my first 5-star read of the year, definitely gonna be on my favorites list at the end of the year, and I adored it. My favorite new Bookstagramer that I'm going to talk about is a little bit of me promoting a friend, but she really deserves it, and that is Carolyn from Graduated Reader. So Carolyn is my friend. We went to college together, but she did graduate already. She graduated last year. And she just recently started a Bookstagram account that has really beautiful photos. Carolyn has really good taste in books, and I think that her Bookstagram reflects this, so I personally think that you should go follow her. She takes great photos, she talks about great books, and overall, just in general, everything that I look for a Bookstagrammer, Carolyn has it. For my favorite videos, I usually only talk about 3 videos, but I watched a ton of YouTube in January, so I'm gonna kick that number on up to 4. For the last couple of months of 2016, I just didn't have time to do much of anything. I wasn't watching that much YouTube, I wasn't reading as much, I wasn't watching as much TV, and I feel like in January I got to do a lot more of those things again. And I feel like I hadn't watched a lot of YouTube videos in a while that made me passionate and really happy, so I wanted to talk about even just a bonus one this month, because I had a lot more fun watching YouTube in January than I have in a couple months previously. The first video that I want to mention is called Moana in Real Life, How Far I'll Go, and it is a real life acting out of how far I'll go from Moana. The little girl who plays Moana in this video is so cute and just perfect. She so embodies Moana as an animated character. She makes her come to life so well, and the groups of dancers that you get in the background are incredible. Also, I have been listening to Moana on repeat for like a month and a half now, so I just keep finding new Moana videos to watch, and this one, if you have been doing the same thing, should definitely be on your list. It's totally worth the watch. I also want to mention a video called Series I Finished in 2016 that Trina from the channel Between Chapters did. By the way, if you're not already subscribed to Trina, you really should be. She makes incredible videos. But what I loved about this video is that Trina didn't just talk about which series she finished, she also did this whole thing where she would break down a thing that she liked about the series and a thing she didn't like about the series, which really helped me decide on a couple of the series that she'd finished whether or not it was worth it for me to read them or to finish them. It was such a quick way to go 1 positive, 1 negative, here's how I feel about the series in general, here's an overall rating. I loved the way it was set up, and it was super useful. Great video as always from Trina, and I just wanted to shout this one out because I loved it. Next up is a video called Top 10 Worst Reasons You Liked Rogue One by Jenny Nicholson, and the reason I wanted to talk about this video is not that I don't like Rogue One. I really do enjoy Rogue One. But when I left the theater, I just wasn't that enthusiastic about it, and I felt like I got talked into liking it a little bit more by all of the people around me who reacted so positively to the story. Watching this video reaffirmed the things that I had felt first thing after I left the theater, when I just thought, that was fine. Jenny just breaks down each of the reasons she's been told that someone liked Rogue One and why she thinks that those are reasons that she didn't find very valid, and she kind of pokes holes in those reasons. This isn't me sending you to a video being like, if you like Rogue One, you're wrong, go watch how you're wrong. It was just a way for me to reaffirm how I personally felt about the movie, and I thought it did it in a really funny way. So I'm not telling you, stop liking Rogue One, continue liking Rogue One at will, but I really enjoyed this video. The last video I want to talk about is Lollipop. It was a cover of a Mika song that Dodie Clark did, and it is so cute. It originally started out as an ad for like Airheads of some kind, but she wound up liking it so much she put it on her main channel, and it's adorable. I love the song Lollipop. I love Dodie, and this video is unapologetically happy and bright and funny and adorable and everything about the reasons that I watched Dodie in the first place. Alright, you ready for a TV series completely out of left field? When I started January, I assumed that my favorite show of January was gonna end up being a series of unfortunate events, or Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, or even Buffy, because I've been rewatching Buffy. I had all of these ideas about what my favorite new show might have been in January, and it was none of them. It was actually The Magicians, season 1. I started watching The Magicians over winter break when I was heavily pressured by a friend who said that he absolutely loved it and he wanted me to watch it, and he was completely right. I really, really loved this series. I haven't read the book series that The Magician show is based on. It's just never sounded like a particularly interesting book series to me. It doesn't sound like my kind of book, but when it was presented to me in television form, it allowed me to experience a lot of those things, but in a format that I thought I would like a lot more. The way that my friend described it to me, and the way that I keep describing it to other people, is it's sort of like Harry Potter meets the Chronicles of Narnia if you mixed them together and dropped them into grad school. It's a perfect description, which is why I have stolen it from Brian. Sorry, Brian. I fell in love with so many of the characters, with the storyline, with how dark it got, and with how magical the world was in general. It's on Netflix, that's how I watched it, and I just adored it. The second season has just started, but I'm not gonna watch it until it's all on Netflix, so if you have spoilers for season 2 or for the books, don't tell me. And also, I want to take Elliot and I want to put him in my pocket and I want to protect him forever because I love him. With my movies, I usually talk about a favorite rewatch and a favorite new to me. So my favorite rewatch movie for January was Holes. I rewatched Holes for, it seems like no reason. I don't remember why we picked this to watch, but I watched it with my aunt and my sister, and every time I watch Holes, I'm reminded of how good a movie it is. It's a great adaptation, like one of the most solid adaptations I think that we have, but it's also just such a positive movie. And the I can fix that like subplot storyline breaks me to this day. Fantastic movie, glad I rewatched it. My favorite new to me movie is kind of weird, but stick with me. It's a movie called For a Good Time Call. This is on Netflix, and I don't know how many other people will like it, but to me, it worked really well for me. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this plot without laughing. So it's about these two women. They've had some kind of bad experience in the past, but one of them needs a place to live, the other needs a roommate, so they move in together and immediately clash. Through a series of twisted events going from them hating each other to liking each other to being really good friends, they wind up starting a sex hotline together. This was such a good friendship movie. There aren't a lot of movies that are about female friendships that I end up really enjoying because I think that they tend to get bogged down in other stuff, or that the female characters aren't written well, or that the relationship doesn't feel accurate, and this movie did all of those things. The relationship between these two women was so authentic and so close to, I think, how female friendships, especially really close ones, work. So I really loved it. I thought it was a great movie. It was hilarious, it was a really good time, and one of the best female friendships I've seen up on a screen in a while. Alright, music time. So you may have noticed, I'm sure, that I am wearing a 21 Pilots shirt. I hope that you noticed. I intended for you to notice. I bought this because in January I went and saw them in concert. So I thought for music I would just talk about my top 5 favorite 21 Pilots songs. This is what I did when I went and saw Panic at the Disco in concert. I just talked about my top 5 songs. So let's jump in. We're gonna do these in order. I actually put them in order to my very favorite 21 Pilots song. So let's get started. And for every single one of these, I'm gonna try to put in a clip from the concert of them performing this song. So hope you enjoy those too. The first one I have to mention is one of the first 21 Pilots songs I ever heard, and that is House of Gold. And it appeals to me for numerous reasons. First of all, I love a lot of the ukulele songs that 21 Pilots plays because A, it's something completely unexpected for a band like 21 Pilots to suddenly have ukulele songs, but B, I play the ukulele, so I appreciate when bands do include the ukulele. I also love this song because I learned to play it, and it's super fun to play, just as fun as it is to listen to it. The next one that I want to talk about is Stressed Out. And yes, this is like the song, but I love Stressed Out, and I love a lot of the lyrics of Stressed Out in particular. I just like really identify with a lot of them, which I think a lot of people do. That's why it became such a popular song so quickly. I love so much about this song. I love so much about this song. Unfortunately, I don't have a clip of it because for some reason, when they performed Stressed Out, I do actually have a video, but I don't know if my hands were shaking or what happened, but it looks like an earthquake was happening when I look at the clip of this song. Like, you can't see anything, so sorry, no clip of Stressed Out, just me talking about how great it is. Next up is a song called Migraine, and this may have actually been the very first 21 Pilots song I ever heard because I found them through Janelle, and she listens to Migraine and car radio a lot, so I heard those a lot when I was first hearing the band. Like so many other 21 Pilots songs, I love the lyrics. It is such a great song to just yell sometimes, and I love it. Coming in at number 2, we've got The Judge. Okay, it was so hard for me to make a decision between number 2 and number 1 because I love The Judge. I love The Judge. This is another one of their songs where they bring out that ukulele, and as I've said, I'm a huge fan of when they do that. The chorus of the song is so fantastic. It just does things to me. I just love it. I love the way the tempo changes throughout the song and the different vibes that you get with each different section, and I love playing it myself. In general, it's fabulous, and I had such a hard time deciding if this was my number 1 or the next song was number 1. So my actual number 1 21 Pilots song, man, this could change, is Tear in My Heart. Even now I'm reconsidering if I need to switch these, which I think just tells you how equal they are in my mind and how hard a time I have deciding which one that I like more. I think I decided on this one because it includes one of my favorite lines of all time, which is, "The songs on the radio are okay, but my taste in music is your face," which, I mean, sometimes Janelle and I just like yell that at each other. It's such a good line. This one is so upbeat and really fun, but I don't know. I think it's the danceability of this one that just pops it up that little extra notch to make it my favorite. 21 Pilots is like my second favorite band, so it's really hard to rank them, but if I was just going to do it with a lot of pain and agony, that's how I would order my top 5 21 Pilots songs.
Sometimes you gotta bleed to know that you're alive and have a soul, but it takes someone to come around to show you how. She's the tear in my heart.
Okay, so my random favorites usually are a weird mix of stuff I do, stuff I've seen, I don't know. It's kind of a weird mix down here, which is why it's called random. But in January, I read a ton of blog posts for some reason, and so I thought I would share a couple of my favorites. The first of those is How to Recognize Racism and Microaggressions in Books, and this is by the Book Avid. I don't know why I don't know how to say that. I follow her on most platforms. I think it's all right there in the title, How to Recognize Racism and Microaggressions in Books. It's all right there. I think it's incredibly relevant at this point in time when books like Carve the Mark and The Continent have been coming out, or I guess The Continent never did come out, but they receive a lot of praise even though they're full of racism and microaggressions that just go unrecognized. So this is just a really relevant blog piece. Go and read it and try to learn a little bit. That is what I'm always trying to do when I'm reading blogs like this, and I think that all three of the ones that I'm going to mention are all really valid ones to read and try to just broaden your mind and learn a little bit more about what you're reading and how to react to what you're reading. The next one that I want to mention is On Representation and Why All of It Isn't Good, and this is by Mason over at The Amazing Bookshelf. They also have a YouTube channel you can go and check out. This post is specifically about queer books and why queer characters just being in a book doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great queer book. He specifically talks about a book named Fan Art, which I had heard of and then decided not to read because it sounded incredibly offensive to me, but as it turns out, it was even more deeply offensive than I could have possibly imagined. So I really appreciated the way that this post broke that down and explained why sometimes diversity just being there isn't always going to be a positive, and that can still be done badly, even if you're trying to be inclusive. It is just a great breakdown, and I loved it. And the last post I want to mention is called The Inherent Homophobia of the Harry Potter Series by Andrea from Hijade Pavlov. I think that's the name of her blog. I read this first probably in December, but I found myself going back to it a lot. I read it first right after I saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I was incredibly frustrated by the way that it portrayed queer identity, and so I found this blog post, and I think that it says so perfectly everything that I have ever wanted to say about the queer rep in Harry Potter. If you've ever been curious about any of my thoughts about any instance of queer representation in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, or Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, this post summarizes it all. It has been bookmarked into my favorites of all time. I'm going to share it as much as I can because it does such a good job of breaking down why certain things are as incredibly offensive as they are. It rephrases a lot of the issues that I have had with Remus Lupin as a character in a way that's much better than I've ever been able to phrase it. In general, I absolutely love this post, and I think that it is an incredibly valid criticism of the series, which I of course love, but I have deep issues with in terms of representation of queer characters. So I personally recommend that you read this, that you read all three of these. I've personally benefited from reading all three, so I like to think that other people will too. Oh, and my other random favorite for January was I was a part of the YA BookTube Awards. It was really great. I was one of the judges. I did 2 live shows. There were like 8 total. We talked about a ton of books, but I loved being a part of that as well. Okay guys, there you go. Those are all of my favorites for the month of January. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what some of your favorite stuff from the month of January was, whether that's movies, books, shows, or blog posts even. I don't follow a lot of blogs, so I just end up having to find them when I'm linked to them, like through Twitter and stuff. If you ever find something that you think I'll think is interesting, send it to me on Twitter and I'll read it. I really enjoy that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon.